was obstinate and inquisitive, and when her parents told her to do anything, she did not obey them. So how could she fare well? One day she said to her parents, "I have heard so much of Frau Trude. I will go to her some day. People say that everything about her does look so strange, and that there are such odd things in her house, that I have become quite curious." Death appeared as he had promised, and stood Godfather quite in the usual way. When the boy had grown up, his godfather one day appeared and bade him go with him. He led him forth into a forest, and showed him an herb which grew there, and said, "Now shalt thou receive thy godfather's present. I make thee a celebrated physician. When thou art called to a patient, I will always appear to thee." Hello everybody, and welcome back again to another Grimm's fairy tale. Actually today I will be reading two again because the one is very, very short. So let's get started. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and at the end you will see the playlist of the fairy tales I've already done. Alright, now let's read the story of Frau Trude. There was once a little girl who was obstinate and inquisitive, and when her parents told her to do anything, she did not obey them. So how could she fare well? One day she said to her parents, "I have heard so much of Frau Trude. I will go to her some day. People say that everything about her does look so strange, and that there are such odd things in her house, that I have become quite curious." Her parents absolutely forbade her and said, "Frau Trude is a bad woman who does wicked things, and if thou goest to her, thou art no longer her child." But the maiden did not let herself be turned aside by her parents' prohibition, and still went to Frau Trude. And when she got to her, Frau Trude said, "Why art thou so pale?" "Ah," she replied, and her whole body trembled, "I have been so terrified at what I have seen." "What hast thou seen?" "I saw a black man on your steps." "That was a collier." "I don't know what that means. Does she mean like a man covered in black or an actual black man?" "Then I saw a green man." "That was a huntsman." "After that I saw a blood-red man." "That was a butcher." "Ah, Frau Trude, I was terrified. I looked through the window and saw not you, but as I verily believe, the devil himself with a head of fire." "Oh," said she, "then thou hast seen the witch in her proper costume. I have been waiting for thee and wanting thee a long time already. Thou shalt give me some light." Then she changed the girl into a block of wood and threw it into the fire, and when it was in full blaze, she sat down close to it and warmed herself by it and said, "That shines bright for once in a way." Oh, that was messed up. Okay. The next fairy tale is Godfather Death. A poor man had 12 children and was forced to work night and day to give them even bread. When therefore the 13th came into the world, he knew not what to do in his trouble, but ran out into the great highway and resolved to ask the first person whom he met to be Godfather. This sounds a lot like the Godfather story that I just read the last video. The first to meet him was the good God, who already knew what filled his heart, and said to him, "Poor man, I pity thee. I will hold thy child at its christening, and will take charge of it and make it happy on earth." The man said, "Who art thou?" "I am God." "Then I do not desire to have thee for a godfather," said the man. "Thou givest to the rich and leavest the poor to hunger." Thus spoke the man, for he did not know how wisely God apportions riches and poverty. Okay. He turned therefore away from the Lord and went farther. Then the devil came to him and said, "What seekest thou? If thou wilt take me as a godfather for thy child, I will give him gold in plenty, and all the joys of the world as well." The man asked, "Who art thou?" "I am the devil." "Then I do not desire to have thee for godfather," said the man. "Thou deceivest men and leadest them astray." He went onwards, and then came Death, striding up to him with withered legs thanks and said, "Take me as godfather." The man asked, "Who art thou?" "I am Death, and I make all equal." "Oh, really?" "Okay." Then said the man, "Thou art the right one. Thou takest the rich as well as the poor. Without distinction, thou shalt be godfather." Death answered, "I will make thy child rich and famous, for he who has me for a friend can lack nothing." The man said, "Next Sunday is the christening. Be there at the right time." Death appeared as he had promised and stood godfather quite in the usual way. When the boy had grown up, his godfather one day appeared and bade him go with him. He led him forth into a forest and showed him an herb which grew there and said, "Now shalt thou receive thy godfather's present. I make thee a celebrated physician. When thou art called to a patient, I will always appear to thee. If I stand by the head of the sick man, thou mayst say with confidence that thou wilt make him well again, and if thou givest him of this herb, he will recover. But if I stand by the patient's feet, he is mine, and thou must say that all remedies are in vain, and that no physician in the world could save him. But beware of using the herb against my will, or it might fare ill with thee." It was not long before the youth was the most famous physician in the whole world. He had only to look at the patient, and he knew his condition at once, and if he would recover or must needs die. So they said of him, and from far and wide people sent for him when they had anyone ill, and gave him so much money that he soon became a rich man. Now it so befell that the king became ill, and the physician was summoned, and was to say if recovery were possible. But when he came to the bed, Death was standing by the feet of the sick man, and the herb did not grow which could save him. "If I could but cheat Death for once," thought the physician, "he is sure to take it ill if I do. But as I am his godson, he will shut one eye. I will risk it." He therefore took up the sick man and laid him the other way, so that now Death was standing by his head. Then he gave the king some of the herb, and he recovered and grew healthy again. But Death came to the physician, looking very black and angry, threatened him with his finger, and said, "Thou hast overreached me. This time I will pardon it, as thou art my godson. But if thou venturest it again, it will cost thee thy neck, for I will take thee thyself away with me." Soon afterwards the king's daughter fell into a severe illness. She was his only child, and he wept day and night, so that he began to lose the sight of his eyes, and he caused it to be made known that whosoever rescued her from death should be her husband, and inherit the crown. When the physician came to the sick girl's bed, he saw Death by her feet. He ought to have remembered the warning given by his godfather, but he was so infatuated by the great beauty of the king's daughter and the happiness of becoming her husband that he flung all thought to the winds. He did not see that Death was casting angry glances on him, that he was raising his hand in the air and threatening him with his withered fist. He raised up the sick girl and placed her head where her feet had lain. Then he gave her some of the herb, and instantly her cheeks flushed red and life stirred afresh in her. When Death saw that for a second time he was defrauded of his own property, he walked up to the physician with long strides and said, "All is over with thee, and now the lot falls on thee," and seized him so firmly with his ice-cold hand that he could not resist, and led him into a cave below the earth. There he saw how thousands and thousands of candles were burning in countless rows, some large, others half-sized, others small. Every instant some were extinguished, and others again burnt up, so that the flames seemed to leap hither and thither in perpetual change. "See," said Death, "these are the lights of men's lives. The large ones belong to children, the half-sized ones to married people in their prime. The little ones belong to old people, but children and young folks likewise have often only a tiny candle." "Show me the light of my life," said the physician, and he thought voice there. "Ah, dear Godfather," said the horrified physician, "light a new one for me. Do it for love of me, that I may enjoy my life, be king, and the husband of the king's beautiful daughter." "I cannot," answered Death. "One must go out before a new one is lighted." "Then place the old one on a new one. That will go on burning at once when the old one has come to an end," pleaded the physician. Death behaved as if he were going to fulfill his wish, and took hold of a tall new candle. But as he desired to revenge himself, he purposely made a mistake in fixing it, and the little piece fell down and was extinguished. Immediately the physician fell on the ground, and now he himself was in the hands of Death. The end. So don't try to cheat Death. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that story. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to my channel. And now you will see a pop-up containing the playlist with all the fairy tales that I have read thus far. So check that out next, and I will see you again next time. Thank you so much for watching. You have been watching ASMR Sleep.